we had a crane come in. We had to set a couple of things for our sewer plant. And so everybody came in on time, which is always good. And it was kind of like a circus because we were pouring the top deck of the tennis courts at the same time. So they're still pouring that. So I'm all done with my hard work. So
Oh,
done deal.
good. Well, I'm glad you'll be able to be with us. That's terrific. Well, I have that it's 9 o'clock, according to my computer. I would like to welcome everyone to the December version of the Captiva Community Panel. We'll begin with roll call. David Mintz.
Present, I am here, thank you.
Tony Lappy.
I am present.
Okay, Bruce McDonald informed me that he is not going to be able to attend our meeting. Ken Gill.
Here.
Hi, Ken.
Hello.
Marguerite Maville.
Good morning, Jay. I'm here.
Hi, good to see you. Linda Laird.
I'm here.
Hi, Linda.
Hello.
John Jensen.
Yeah, good morning, Jay.
Hi, John.
Morning.
Sandy Stillwell. Sandy, are you here yet? Hopefully she'll be joining us shortly. Ann Brady.
Morning.
Hi there.
Hi.
Ann. And Bob Walter. Bob, are you here?
Good morning.
Hi, Bob. Bob, this is your last meeting. We're going to miss you. You've been a very valuable member of the panel. I remember all those times back in our post-hurricane days where you were our main source of what was going out there, you know, in the norm and I guess the semi-normal world, and trying to bring information, you know, back to the panel and all the people that were watching us back then. And I appreciate that very much. I hope you will want to continue to attend panel meetings and provide a regular update, you know, on the goings on at South Seas, which would be terrific if you would be willing to do that.
Of course. Thank you, Jay.
Good. Okay, good. Again, I thank you for your, you know, so many years of service on the panel. It's much appreciated.
Thank you.
And then I'm here at Sandy.
Oh, hi, Sandy.
Hi there.
Good. Thanks. All right. I think our first order of business is to approve the minutes from the last meeting, which I reviewed, and they are certainly extensive. We had a lot of discussion then. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes at the last meeting?
I'll make a motion, Jay.
Do I have a second? I guess nobody likes the minutes, huh?
I'll second it.
Okay, thanks, Sandy. Is there any discussion about the minutes? Okay, all in favor of approval? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, minutes are approved. I believe we're ready to move on. First, our update from Mike Sawicki, our sheriff. Mike, are you there?
So there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Wonderful.
How are we doing on the current Captiva crime wave? Battling the forces of evil and that surround our island.
I think we've managed to keep the forces of evil at bay for yet another
Okay,
month.
good.
But thank you. So the big update, I guess, for me today is that this is just like Bob. This looks like it's going to be my last panel meeting as well. I am
Really? What?
Yes, I am transferring to Boca Grande to take over the resident.
That's unacceptable. Your
there.
community is not allowing you to resign, make that change.
Well, I do have
I
good
need
news.
the contact.
Yeah, I do have good news to go along with that, though. I have down here a little further.
Recording in progress.
Is Sergeant Richard Zeltman. He's going to be coming out to the island to assume my position. He's been working on Fort Myers Beach and managing some large operations down there, including our spring break operations. And he's currently over on Pine Island in Gulf District, waiting for me to vacate so he can move on out here and take the reins.
Well, I guess we'll look forward to meeting him, but Mike, I cannot imagine you not being in our community every day. I mean, you're such a presence and, from my point of view, you're part of the Captiva brand, one of those people that makes this such a special place.
Well, I mean, as you guys,
Mike, you're part of the book. You're in chapter 2.
well, as you guys know, I mean, we've been out here for a long time. I moved out here when my daughter Kate was 2 weeks old. So I'm pretty, as long as I can remember how old she is, I can mark my time out here pretty accurately. And it's been a truly wonderful place and a great opportunity. My kids have grown up out here and really, really loved it. And so this is a very bittersweet thing for me to be moving on. The good news is that I'm only a 20-minute boat ride away. So I will certainly make myself available to Sergeant Zeltman, and you're going to have good continuity with Chris Lusk and Christine Zumbrum being here. So I certainly will miss everybody here, but I'm not moving to Mars. I'm just going to Boca Grande.
When is this happening, Mike?
This is there's a captain who's leaving on Boca Grande. And once he is out of the resident deputy housing up there sometime on or about the first of the year, then I will be moving up there to his position.
Mike, will Sergeant Zeltman be provided housing on Captiva once he takes the position here?
Yes. Once I remove all the detritus and bird feathers out of my house, he'll be moving in over there.
Oh, okay. And I would just offer, I'm willing to do this, and I'm sure Jay or anyone else on the panel would love to sit down with the sergeant and just review some of our historic concerns on the island and what we've experienced over the past decade plus, and maybe just review some of the issues that have arisen over that time, and sort of get to meet the sergeant and have that opportunity to discuss these issues.
Yes, sir. I think that's the plan that we had in place. Unfortunately, we had an injury over on Pine Island, and one of our guys was activated for military deployment. So it was our intention to get Sergeant Zeltman out here for an extended period of time before he takes over. But what we're going to do is have him out here as often as we can before then. And then obviously I'll be happy to provide continuing support until, all the pieces fall into place. So I think that plan is going to work great. And I think that he is eager to meet everybody out here and get things going.
Okay, so Sergeant, I see the sergeant is there. So once he's settled in, we'll figure out how to sit down with you and just get you to meet everybody and review some of the issues that we've had to deal with.
Yes, I look forward to it. I don't know if you could hear me, but
Yes,
do
we
look
hear you
forward
fine, Sergeant.
oh, thank you.
Good. That would be great.
Yeah, I have one heck of shoes to fill,
You do.
and not only from your panel, but from what I could hear for the whole island and Upper Captiva and all the other islands that, Mike has done one hell of a job. And our executive command staff, our sheriff, told me that, I've got shoes to fill, but I'm very humbled and honored that they chose me. worked at the sheriff now 20 years at the sheriff's office. So I'm looking forward to it. And, you know, I'd like to share my experiences perhaps at another time and sit down with you and the panel.
That'd be great.
Yeah, we will look forward to doing that. And as much as we're going to miss Mike, we welcome you and look forward to working with you to serve our community.
Thank
He
you.
needs to grow a beard so he looks more like Mike, and then we won't know the difference.
You know,
It's
Mike,
bad
this-
enough when
Mike,
people
this
confuse me for
announcement-
Chris.
Yeah. Hey, Mike, this announcement's a little, you know, the timing is a little suspect. You post on Facebook your apparent ability to bake French baked goods, and now you're leaving us. I'm teasing us with the possible delivery of baked goods in the morning now. Going
Well,
to Boca Grande.
Not only, you know, that was inspired by 3 years of French that I took in high school because of a redheaded girl, and that really didn't go anywhere. But I do speak a very basic modicum.
If you follow Mike on Facebook, it's a little bit of an inside joke, but they look great.
Oh yeah, you're into a peek into a very bizarre world for sure. Yeah.
Well, Mike, is there anything else to report or?
No, I think that's the big news of the day. I'm trying to think if there's anything of great consequence here. It's actually, you know, as we see more people starting to come into the island, the construction equipment and all of the recovery stuff for the trucks and trailers. We've been taking a pretty loose approach to traffic enforcement and parking enforcement while people are getting things fixed. But we are starting to see more and more golf carts, more and more people on three-wheeled bicycles, a tricycle, if you will, and more people just kind of walking around the island. So I anticipate that we'll be tightening up a little bit on some of those deliveries and some of those work vehicles and stuff over the next few weeks.
Right, and the other thing we have to do is, Mike, since the ordinance was changed, and then we had the hurricane, so we really didn't get to it, but we have to get the DOT signs up around the chapel that are consistent with what we had discussed, because the ordinance has been passed. The only thing remaining is the signage that we have to work with DOT to get.
Yeah, and I've been in communication with DOT about a few issues. I mean, we're still missing some road signs and things like that. And kind of the answer I got back is just try to be patient. You know, there's still major intersections that are being controlled by one stoplight and, you know, over in town. So they've got a real uphill climb already, just fixing everything around the county. So I'm sure it's on their list, and I'm sure the response we'll get from them, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but it'll probably be something to the effect of be patient. We're trying to get to everything. That's what they've been telling me. So.
And we'll explain all this to Sergeant Zeltman, because we worked through that, and there's no way he could know it at this point, but we do. So we'll work that through with him.
Yeah, and I've been working with him, and I will continue to, and soon all secrets will be revealed to him. So.
All right. Well, Mike, thanks for that report. And again, can't imagine you being gone, but we will welcome the sergeant in your place.
Well, thank you for that.
Let's keep in touch with your community.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. Next up, Fire Chief Jeff Paul. Jeff, are you around?
I am around. Good morning.
Hi, Jeff.
As you can see, I'm also in my vehicle, but be rest assured I'm sitting in traffic and haven't moved for about 20 minutes. It was very fun in the morning. Real quick, one thing island-wise to bring up on the fire side is obviously there's a lot of smoke in the air now from all the brush fires in town. So if you have a concern about that and you think it is something more serious, call 911 if you think it is close to your house. Otherwise, you can call the station on a non-emergent number and you know, chat with us. We can come out and address your concern. Do not send an email asking us about smoke, because those obviously can take a little bit of time to get to. So if it was an emergency, email is probably the slowest form of communication anymore. So either 911 or just call the station directly. Second, obviously, we're coming into Christmas time, so be careful with those Christmas decorations, trees, outside lights. If you're hanging stuff outside, make sure you're using stuff rated for outdoors. Be careful with extension cords, all those wonderful things. And then lastly, on the district side, we did just receive rebate from the state of Florida in the amount of $123,000 from last year's tax rebates that some homeowners had taken advantage of. So we just were refunded that money back by the state of Florida. So that's great news. Lastly, for me, just want to echo the sentiments of obviously the panel and everybody else. Going to miss Lieutenant Sawicki when he leaves. We've had a great working relationship between our agencies since he's been here. And I've been out here for quite a few of the deputies back before Joe Papalardo's days. I'm sure there's still a few people on this panel who remember Joe. So Mike will be greatly missed out here, and enjoyed our time together. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Anybody have anything for Jeff? No. Okay, next up on the agenda is CEPD update. Daniel Munt. Dan, are you around?
Good morning. This is John Reard. I'll be providing.
Hi, John.
How's everyone doing today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great. Thank you. Just a few updates for CEPD. Yesterday, we elected a new chairman. That'd be John Wade is the new chairman for CEPD. Next, we selected Aptum for the Bayside Adaptation Plan, and the beach nourishment is slated to be put out to bid on January 4th, pending our engineering design.
So you are going to move forward with the preservation plan with the Aptum?
Yes.
And that's the same major study we were discussing for quite a while, and that the long, lengthy study of recommendations to how we can improve the bay side of the island and not just be focused on the Gulf side.
That's what we'll be working on, yes. Previously, the study you're probably thinking about is the vulnerability analysis that was
right.
done. Yeah.
Anybody have any questions for John?
I just have one question. Can you just update us on the timeline that Aptum thinks the actual re-nourishment will take place?
So once we put it out to bid, we're hoping to get it done before the next hurricane season. But that's when we will get our schedule. That's going to be highly based upon the construction company's ability to mobilize within a time frame.
So you won't know that until after the bids are out? Is that what you're saying?
Correct. So once that's only, we're kind of tied on that to the availability of the contractors, because there's only maybe 3 large companies who can do it. That's Great Lakes, Weeks Marine, and I can't remember the other name off the top of my head, but there's usually only 3 companies that are able to do that work.
So are you seeking bids from those companies or seeking bids from, is that what the bid process is focused on?
It'll be put out publicly. We use something called Demand Star, and it puts it out to a large array of companies. And there are main 3 that usually respond.
Okay, but what I'm asking, John, is the bidding, is that for actually Aptum's doing the engineering? And
Correct.
The bid is for the actual construction of the beach renourishment, the actual sand?
Correct.
That's the bid that's going out in January.
Yes.
And part of that bid process is obviously will be the availability of the various companies and who'll be available to do what when. Correct.
So we're going to put it out with a preferred time frame for before, but it's all just it relies on their schedule. And the board will be able to make the best choice for the island. Usually if we, the reason why we did it in sea turtle season last year is because it saved about $3 million on the project. And we have a lot of people respond to that time frame and wanting to do work in that time frame because they don't do work anywhere else.
Which is different this time in your view?
In my view, this time, if the community wants it done before hurricane season, that's the date we will request to see if they can match it. But if they can't match that date, there's nothing we can really do about it.
Okay, well, I think that almost everyone on Captiva, based upon the conclusions that CEPD came to and that everyone else came to, is that the beach renourishment was very valuable in protecting Captiva during Hurricane Ian, to the extent that we were protected, and that anything that you can do to make sure that beach renourishment takes place before the hurricane season would be very appreciated by the community.
Yes, sir. And that's exactly what we're going to try to get accomplished.
Our goal is to get it done as soon as possible. But if they come back and say it's going to be $30 million to do it in May and $8 million to do it in August, the decision needs to be made.
Yeah, we'll do everything in our power to make that happen, but it's highly reliant on their available schedules.
John, do you expect to still be able to complete this project without significant funding from property owners?
We have $13 million from DEP, and the rest will come from a cost share from the county. The remainder's going to be what will be assessed to the property owners, but that's yet to be seen as for how much that will be able to be.
Bob, I mean, I wanted to just ask Bob, obviously there'd be a cost benefit analysis that will be done if it costs more money to do it before hurricane season than after hurricane season. So that cost benefit analysis will be done, I presume, by the board of the CPD to make that determination.
Absolutely. Yeah, our goal, David, is 100% to do it as soon as possible. I mean, we could do it in January, we would.
Yeah, and then that's what will pretty much happen during the bid selection, because we will get probably 2 dates of when those companies can start. And that's also when they tell us how much it'll be to do it on this date, how much it'll be to do it on said other date. So that's where our cost analysis will come in on that.
Any other questions for John? Okay, next up is an SCCF update. Carrie Schumann has left SCCF, so
Carrie Schumann will not be giving the update today.
Yeah, right. So Carrie Schumann has left. Is that correct, Matt?
She has started her new role at the Conservancy. So I'll be giving the updates for the foreseeable future until we fill her shoes.
Okay. Proceed, Matt.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a pretty quick one today. We were obviously disappointed with the county's decision last Wednesday, but I'll let David talk in more detail about that. I know he has an update plan for that. The lake is below 16 feet and trending downward, even though we're still in a pretty wetter than normal dry season, but everything's looking good on that front. And then on SCCF personal news, there is an event tonight at the Bailey Homestead if people are interested. It's called All Good Things Must Begin, and it's a series of 8 short plays dealing with climate change, followed by a question and answer panel afterwards. We had the same event at Players Circle last night. It's all with Players Circle actors, so you won't have to suffer through me or any of the other staff trying to act out any of these. But if you're all interested, there are still tickets available, and we'd love to have everyone there. That's all I got today.
Okay, any questions for Matt? Matt, I just want to say I very much appreciate the role of SCCF and your work personally and everything that was done to try to get a favorable outcome on the timbers matter. So I want to thank you for that and job well done.
I appreciate that. Yeah, and we're far from over at this point, so there's still a
Right.
few levers we can pull.
Right. Okay, Matt, thank you. Next up, David Mintz.
You skipped South Seas, Jay.
Oh, I did. I'm sorry, Bob. Bob, so sorry. Bob, bring us up to date
already
on
out the
what's
door.
going on at South Seas.
Yeah, a couple quick updates. You know, we expected the golf course to be open the week before Thanksgiving. Shortly after we planted or seeded the greens, I should say, we had that cold spell that hit us in October and pushed us back. So we've been at the mercy of Mother Nature since then. So we're probably looking about January, second week in January right now. But again, Mother Nature, these cold spells are really killing us. But it's growing in very nicely though. But we're a little behind. North Pool Deck is moving very well. Everything's changed out there. We're target date's the 18th of December. I think it's probably going to be more the following week. But I was out there yesterday, and there must have been 60 people in that pool deck planting plants and putting things around there. So we're moving really quickly. And we finally received permits to begin demolition on our hotel buildings, and we started on Monday on the 1800 building. Taking those down. I mean, we waited for permits for weeks upon weeks, like everybody else has been doing.
Right.
And that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Anybody have questions for Bob? Bob, thanks for the update, and I'm so glad that you plan to attend future panel meetings to let us know what's going on at South Seas. Very much appreciated. David Mintz.
I am here. I will give a brief report. I think most people in the Sanibel and Captiva communities know what's transpired over the past week and past months. But I think it's fair to say that the Captiva community and the Sanibel community feel somewhat betrayed by the Board of County Commissioners with respect to the zoning changes and plan and code changes that have taken place. We have concluded, and I think it's fair to conclude, that the Board of County Commissioners voted to amend our land development code and our community comprehensive plan for one purpose. And that single purpose was to provide increased height and increased density for future development at South Seas. What has happened, I think, is the county commissioners have undone years of careful planning on Captiva and also on South Seas for that matter. During this decision process, they ignored a virtually unanimous community, both on Sanibel and Captiva, against these plan and code changes. And they've ignored the special needs of a barrier island with respect to our limited infrastructure and all the other environmental issues that are of great concern to us, including our limited evacuation route. I will tell you that Wednesday's meeting before the county commissioners, I felt was embarrassing for the commissioners. They were pretending what they did was not happening, when in fact it was clear to everyone in the audience exactly what was going on. It was, in fact, I believe, a sad day for Lee County. Our communities were out in force at that meeting on December 5th. The Captiva and Sanibel communities clearly understood the issues. They were, speaker after speaker, were incredibly articulate. I have to say they were magnificent as a community. It was really awe-inspiring to see so many people so clearly understood the issues and were able to express their sentiments and their views and their knowledge to the Board of County Commissioners. So if nothing else, the Sanibel and Captiva communities have united and have learned from each other and have worked together with each other and have come to appreciate each other in ways that didn't exist before. So now we have to take stock of where we are And obviously, our attorneys for Protect Captiva are looking at all the litigation options. The options will be explained and outlined in great detail as soon as they're finalized for everyone to see. But we all know that one of the options is to show how the code changes violate the whole Lee plan. We can also, one other option is how the plan violates the state Community Planning Act. As we all know, there was no analysis done of the changes that are taking place in the code and in the plan. No one has looked at what the impacts on our island will be for eliminating the height limitations in the Lee plan for Captiva. So there are litigation options that'll be defined. There's obviously an equal protection claim. We have resorts inside the gate of South Seas being treated radically different than resorts outside the gate of South Seas with respect to both building heights and density. As everyone knows, the heights outside the gate of South Seas have now been changed to 35 feet above base flood elevation. But inside the gate of South Seas, it's 45 to 75 feet above base flood elevation for those structures. And that is obviously an equal protection issue. We're also looking at, with our state legislators, the possibility of a special conservation act for Captiva, similar to the one on Gasparilla Island, which would memorialize our existing building heights and density limitations. We don't know how realistic going forward with the Conservation Act will be. That will become clearer to everyone within the next week or two as our state representative, Adam Batana, and as he meets with other members of the delegation. And then also at some point in the future, Timbers or the South Seas Resort will submit a plan application, an application for a new plan development. And we will then see for the first time exactly what Timbers and South Seas wants to build on South Seas. And at that point, the community will have the opportunity to intervene in that process, which goes before a hearing, goes through a hearing process. It goes before a hearing officer. Its testimony is taken, witness testimony takes place, issues can be litigated, and that I suspect will be a fairly long and drawn out process. So there's a lot to do going forward that will involve the community, and we will, as in the past, be fully transparent and will advise the community of everything that's going on and what's possible and what we need from the community as we go forward. And then finally, we maybe will look at governance issues for the future of Captiva so that we don't have to face these kinds of situations going forward over the next decade or so. But there's so much going on at this point that it's hard to determine exactly where we'll be a month from now or 2 months from now, but we will make sure that everyone in the community knows exactly what we know as we go forward. Okay, Jay?
Yes. Thank you for, I think, an excellent recap of plans going forward. I would also mention that one of the options that the panel thought should be explored was possible annexation with Sanibel as a means to gain more control over our future land use policy. I want to emphasize that I don't think anybody on the panel has a conclusion that annexation with, Sanibel is a good idea, but it's something that at least, deserves some fact finding. And I will be spending time, over the next 2 or 3 months trying to understand better what, that level that possibility might be. But again, that's just for purposes of our community exploring all of its options to gain better control over its land use policy. So that's one additional effort that will be going on in addition to the things that David mentioned. So does anybody have any questions on, where we are on land use, next steps, and so forth?
I have a couple questions.
Yes, go ahead, Linda.
One is, David, you were speaking about when South Seas puts together its plans and submits them for approval. There was something like a review officer. I'm not sure what term you used.
Hearing officer.
Hearing officer. I assume this person is an employee of the county?
Yes, but they're independent magistrates, they're independent hearing officers. They take testimony, they take evidence, they evaluate whether the plan development application is consistent with the code and the plan. They evaluate whether it's consistent with the rest of the community, whether it's compatible with the rest of the community. As I said, they take testimony from the various elements of the community that have an interest in this. And then that hearing officer will make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, and the Board of County Commissioners will evaluate that recommendation. And with respect to a plan development, as best as I understand it, it's the Board of County Commissioners that will then vote on approving that plan development or make recommendations or changes to that plan development by either accepting the hearing officer's recommendation, or the Board of County Commissioners can reject it or modify that hearing officer's recommendation based on what they believe is best for Captiva and the community.
Okay. The development, I forget the name of it, but the Protect Captiva's.
Captiva Conservation Area Act.
No.
Oh.
So there was one development that was recently halted, and our lawyer was part of that. And so I assume there was a hearing on it, and then the Board of County Commissioners upheld. Is that how that process worked?
You're talking about the Siesta Key, I think.
Yeah.
I think what happened there is that the local commissioners voted to increase development with respect to a hotel. That was challenged by a single woman, I believe, or maybe two people in that community. It went to a judge. It went through the legal process, and the judge ruled that the development was not consistent. This is my understanding. It was not consistent with the plan that governed that area, and therefore the development was rejected.
So let's assume that the hearing says it's not a good idea, and then the commissioners say we don't care, and then are we able to get in front of a judge someplace who's more impartial? You don't have to answer all of this. It's okay. It's all right. I'll stop now.
I think the best I can say is that given the community's unanimous concern about the issue and their showing of support over the past 6 months, and given the contributions they made financially to the legal fund, which is significant, I think that we, as a Protect Captiva coalition, which involves everyone who's concerned about this issue, we will do everything reasonably possible to defend our building heights and density on Captiva. And whenever you do litigation or you ever involved in any of this, you do cost benefit analysis. You weigh what's possible, what you can win, what's you don't have any good chances. But anyway, we will make evaluations as a coalition and do whatever we can to keep what we have as a fragile barrier island. I will tell you that in all fairness, the Board of County Commissioners is the legislative body for Lee County. We're not incorporated. They are the legislative body, just like the Congress would be on the federal level. And courts do defer to decisions making, to legitimate decisions made by legislative bodies. And that's why we work so hard to try to change the minds of, in effect, you know, the final views of the Board of County Commissioners to no avail. But we work very hard because we recognize their role as the legislative body. And now we have to take a different tact because they were unwilling to listen to the community.
Does the coalition have enough money?
The coalition has significant funds at this point for its legal work.
So it does not need more at this point.
No, we will make a request very soon. Once the legal plan is set forth and set out and determined, we will reach out to the communities on Sanibel and Captiva and ask for greater contributions so that we will have enough funds to engage a legal strategy as best as possible. So yes, we will have to ask for more money, and we will, but we are confident we will get it because people have been coming up to various members of the coalition and saying, even without being asked, how can I contribute to the legal fund? Because they want us to do whatever is possible to try to keep the island as it is.
And finally, are all the commissioners elected at large, meaning they're from specific districts and they have to be spread around, but we all vote for all of them. Is that correct?
They were all elected at large, and actually, ironically, the state legislators at this point are proposing legislation that would require the county commissioners, five county commissioners, to be elected by their own districts. So even though the 5 county commissioners today on paper represent each of the 5 districts, they are all elected at large. And now there is proposed legislation to turn them into what they call single member districts, so that each of the 5 county commissioners will be elected only by the districts they represent. And the proposed legislation also establishes 2 additional commissioners. 2 of those would be elected at large. So you would have 5 members of the commission elected by their own district, and 2 would be elected at large. And that is a proposal that's being made by the state. The state legislature could actually impose that upon the county. The county commissioners have voted, I believe it was 3-2 against, they passed a resolution opposing that change. I think it was the 2 that opposed the resolution against that change was Commissioner Hammond and Commissioner Ruane. I'm not absolutely positive, but that's what I recall. And the 3 other commissioners voted in favor of the resolution, which is to oppose a single member district. So the local delegation are state representatives in the House of Representatives and in the Senate have, I think, placed that legislation on hold pending further discussion and workshops with the county to see how that develops. But that is definitely being proposed by the state so that the individual county commissioners are more responsive and more beholden, and where the individuals and the population and the voters in those districts have more control over who they elect, and whether or not those individuals really represent the needs and interests of those districts. There's also another proposal that the state legislature has, legislators or local legislators are proposing, which is to have an elected county mayor. So right now you have 5 commissioners and the staff is headed up by a county manager. And what now is being proposed also, another piece of legislation would have a county mayor or a county manager being elected by everyone in the county. And that county manager would be, again, an elected position, unlike now where it's a position that's appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. So that's another proposal that I believe 3 of the 5 county commissioners opposed by resolution, but that is something also that the state legislature could impose upon the county. And I believe both of those recommendations or both of those proposed legislations by the state would have to go before the people of Lee County in a referendum. So with the 2 pieces of legislation for single member districts and for county mayor would be state legislation that would then be presented to the Lee County voters at some future election. And Lee County voters would then determine whether there would be single member districts or whether there would be a county mayor.
So
David?
these are Lee County measures. They're not like Florida measure. They're targeted just at our county. They're not this general thing. We're going to change how counties are run from the state.
It would just be a Lee County piece of legislation, yes.
Okay.
David, one other thing, they were talking about 2 ad hoc people, right? In addition to the 5 county commissioners, correct?
Correct. There would be 5 single member districts that would be elected by each of the 5 districts. And then there would be 2 at-large positions added to. So it would go from 5 to 7.
Thank you, David.
Okay, David, I just I want to thank you for, you know, all of your efforts in leading the community's response to the proposed changes. I know you have burned the midnight oil probably every night the past several months, and I think the panel and the community is really grateful, you know, for all of your efforts. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for David or discussion about our current situation with land use policy and the next steps that the panel will be taking? And David Mintz for Protect Captiva. Okay, Ken, I forgot to mention at the start of the meeting that we take public comment at the end of each agenda item. And we respond to public comment when such comment is when the person making the comment identifies themselves. Have we had any comment that we have not addressed as we've been going along here?
There was one comment that just came in. The question is, if property owners incur losses as a result, will the county commissioners be individually, I think he meant liable of developments at South Seas. It's a little garbled.
I would think not, but David, you would be more than an expert on that than I would. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what the question is in terms of losses that property owners would have as a result of South Seas development. So it's a very fact specific. When you deal with any kinds of losses or property right issues, it's extremely fact specific, and I don't think anybody can answer the question as it's phrased. But the county commissioners will not be liable. No, they're immune to that kind of liability for the most part. So the answer is county commissioners will not be personally liable.
Okay, next agenda item is wastewater update. I had a brief discussion yesterday with Dana Sousa at who is the city manager for Sanibel. about where they are on their projects associated with our wastewater effort. Just to remind you all, the wastewater project had reached a phase where Sanibel needed to complete 2 consulting studies. The first had to do with how are they going to handle the additional effluent that would result from processing our wastewater. That study has been completed. However, it has not yet been presented to the Sanibel City Council. So the results of that consulting study are not yet available for the public to evaluate. They will be presenting that soon to the city council, so we will be able to have public discussion of it following that. I will say though that, I have seen the draft of the consulting study findings, and there is very significant additional expenditure involved in handling the additional effluent that was not anticipated in all the discussion of project costs that have gone on before. So this will be another challenge to overcome in implementing a central sewer system for Captiva. The second study they have to complete is an economic analysis of impact analysis on Sanibel for accepting our wastewater, and which would then, start the basis for rate discussions and what kind of contributions Captivans might have to make for to recognize all the investment in their wastewater facility that has gone on before. That study should begin fairly soon. But I think we're still, probably several months away from, having a good understanding of what these Sanibel costs are going to be and what these economic impacts are going to be. I think I would also point out that, Sanibel has very much on its plate following the hurricane. And this is probably not their highest probability of all the things that they have to do. So, but they are progressing. These studies have been paid for by Lee County. The panel is holding the funds, to pay the consulting fees associated with these studies. So that's where we are on wastewater. I'd be happy to field any questions any of you might have. Okay, we will move on to the next topic. Are there any updates on our stormwater update? This, just remind everybody, is to try to develop and implement a stormwater management plan for the village area of Captiva to address the substantial flooding, throughout the village area that seems to occur whenever we have a significant thunderstorm.
Yes, and Kimley Horn has prepared for us a comprehensive study and engineering plan that costs about $200,000 to do. That plan was submitted to the county for funding. We were told informally that the county will pay for that study, to complete that study. My understanding as of this morning that the actual study plan, the proposed plan and its details, was submitted to the county staff, and that it's under review by the county staff as we speak, and that we will be getting a call from the Assistant County Manager with any questions he may have regarding that. And I'm sure we'll be able to answer them. And then hopefully this will get funded in short order. And then Molly of Kimley Horn can engage and carry out the study. So that's where we are. I would hope that by our January meeting, we will have a final answer on the study, and hopefully it'll be funded by our next meeting.
Okay, next up, is there anything new on iguanas? John?
Jade, nothing new. Alfredo continues to come out Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 2 days a week. If at some point he sees where that second day is not being very helpful, he'll let us know and we can make a decision. But right now he's continuing to get iguanas. So two days a week is what he's doing right now.
Right. And do we have feedback from the community as to whether or not we're making a dent in this problem? Does anybody have any opinions on that, or is this still a land of iguanas rather than a land of Captiva residents?
Yeah, I haven't. To me, I see probably less iguanas in the last few months, but I don't know if that's because of the weather. But whatever he's doing is, I feel help, and it's worth it.
Yeah, I can say, Jay, that after the hurricane and this, earlier this year, they were everywhere. There were babies everywhere. There were iguanas crossing the road. Actually, one of the iguanas held up its hand to stop the traffic while the babies. So it was really overwhelming in terms of numbers of iguanas. But I see less of them now. Now, I agree with John. I don't know what the cause of that is, and maybe it's Alfredo, but I don't see them at every turn, which is what I was seeing a couple of months ago.
Yep.
All right, any further discussion of iguanas? Okay, let's move on to Ann Brady. Ann.
Yes, I don't have any updates from the last meeting. We still have the Welcome Back Cruise scheduled for Monday, January 22nd. All of the open restaurants in Captiva are participating. So that's Mucky Duck, Tween Waters, the Cantina, Sandy's other restaurant that I'm blanking on the name of, Sandy.
RC Otters.
Yes, RC Otters, sorry, yes. And Green Flash.
So that means they'll be providing food on
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yes. Yeah, so I think it's
Terrific.
a nice, everybody welcoming back the restaurants, and the restaurants are welcoming back the people. And so, and then we're working with Captiva Cruises again, who will be providing the bar, and tickets will be going on sale, I believe, soon. Ken can speak to that. Ken?
Yeah, I'm going to set that up probably starting the middle of the month, and then push it more heavily after the holidays when people are back and have their heads more into it.
Yeah, but I would encourage you to get your tickets early. I think it's going to be sold out. Tickets will be $100.
Or more if you want, right?
What?
Or more, correctly?
Yes, I like the way you think, Jay. $100 and up.
It's a minimum contribution.
Yes, and the more you spend, the better view we're going to give you.
I see. Okay.
And so yes, that's that. And then we have a fundraising letter that's going out. And I believe it's going out this week, Ken?
Yeah, yes. I wanted to get past the hearings and this meeting.
Yes. So you'll all be
I
receiving
assume that we're inviting Adam Botana, who is working hard to try to move forward our proposed Captiva conservation area legislation, that he will be invited to come as a guest of the panel.
On the cruise?
Yes,
Yes, okay, yes, we can do that.
yeah.
Yeah, and David had given us some other names of people that we will be inviting who've been helpful.
Only problem, I think they're gonna be in session in January.
Oh,
whether
that's
he's up
right.
in
Yeah,
Tallahassee.
Oh,
that's
true.
right.
Well, we can extend the invitation.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Um,
maybe we should invite Kevin Ruane, the good guy.
Yes.
The rest of the guy. Well, maybe we should invite, well, I won't go there.
Well, I don't know that other commissioners would accept, Tony.
Get them near the rail, you know, a little bump.
Might have an unwelcome swim if they do.
Yeah.
That's it. All right.
yeah, we're gonna try to keep this civil, so.
Okay.
Yeah. It's gonna be an apolitical
Yes.
cruise. So, yeah, so the fundraising letter, the cruise, and I think that's it for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you, Ann.
yeah, you're
Well,
welcome.
what's the date? Do you have a date?
For the
January
cruise,
22nd.
January 22nd. Okay,
Monday, January 22nd.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, next up, we have the 2024 meeting schedule.
No,
Ken,
Jay, you need to vote on Linda first.
oh, did I skip over that? Oh, yeah, I sure did. Gee whiz. I don't know why I can't follow an agenda. Yes. All right, so the we as a panel agreed to not go through a normal nominating process for panel appointees to the panel for the Linda's expiring term, thinking that there would be no way we would, want to not have Linda for another term on the panel, given all the contributions that we have made. So we need to officially vote Linda onto the panel for another term. The other panel members for the coming year are to be appointed by CPOA, and they are Ken Suarez, who is the representative of all the homeowners associations on South Seas, and Bruce McDonald is being recommended by or appointed by CPOA for another term. So those will be our three new members. The action we need to take today is to elect Linda. So I would like to make hear a motion to approve Linda as the panel nominee for the next term.
I'll make the motion, Jay.
And I need a second.
Sandy.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Raise your hand. Any
Aye.
opposed?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda.
And Linda, you've done a tremendous job in your first term. You have many ideas, you're tenacious, and we really appreciate your contribution that you've been making to the panel,
Thank you,
as
Jay.
well as your contribution to the community on CEPD. Okay, with that, let's move on to the 2024 meeting schedule. Ken, are we just going to continue to meet on the second Tuesday of every month, or are there any changes in that schedule?
What I had proposed was to continue it on the second Tuesday, not knowing if the panel wants to do that. So this is the time to have that discussion. Let me throw this up on the screen. As you can see, the CEPD meetings have been approved, and we're just following the same format of meeting the day after them, except for in September when they have budget hearings.
In November. Ooh.
September.
You got something different in November.
That's because of the second Tuesday and the second Monday are different. It's the one time we wouldn't be on our second Tuesday in November if we did it on the 5th. Now, if you want to switch that to match them up, we can do that.
There's no reason to match it up with CEPD. I think we should keep the regular second Tuesday of every month as we have for the past years after years after years after years.
Yeah, I think we would be wise to continue our tradition of the second Tuesday of the month. So is this something that needs a motion and approval, Ken?
It's more housekeeping than anything else. So if you are okay with it, we'll just publish it and let the community know.
Hey,
Okay.
Can I
Ken,
just ask a question,
I
Jay?
gotta
Are
ask
we,
a question. Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
so I'm just wondering, are we still meeting by Zoom? Is that the
That was my
idea?
Well,
Okay.
I think it would be worthwhile having a discussion on that. I know that, many people are still displaced because, of the hurricane. And there are a few people, actually in residence, to attend a meeting in person. So I had just planned to continue meeting on Zoom, but I think it's a matter that should be discussed again by panel members and get everybody's viewpoints on that.
Maybe by February, we might be looking at that. Ken, you were gonna look into some venues. Did we get back to you on maybe the Wakefield room?
I did not ask about that. I checked with the CCA and they actually have booked somebody in for Tuesdays in
Okay.
season. So that would probably knock them out of consideration. So I will talk to you, Tony, or to Doug, whomever.
Yeah, usually
offline.
you can talk to Cindy in our marketing group, and if Tuesdays are open, I mean, I have no problem, Tuesday's middle of the week, we're not doing weddings or anything right away. So you could look into that. If you
Okay,
want to do one in person, then maybe we wait till February to get a grip on it or something.
Ken, didn't you poll the panel members a few months ago to see what the consensus was?
We did. Jay asked about it, I think, in October, and so I asked everybody, and it was a very mixed result. There were some people who wanted to come back live, and there's others who, at least getting through the holidays, felt that Zoom was going to be more convenient for them because they could join from wherever they are. And then, of course, the other consideration, we've been able to pull in a pretty good audience every month throughout this whole public hearing chain, because people can attend from wherever they are. Perhaps now that we're past that and we're in a different phase of the Protect Captiva strategy, Zoom meetings may not be as necessary, or at least we can look at it in season. It's really up to you guys. If you want to do them live, give me a little bit of notice and I'll set something up. I think over the summer, Zoom is still the best answer, just because we've always been challenged to get a quorum once we get past Easter.
Yeah, I think at the very least, we would limit in-person meetings to in season, but we would continue to do Zoom over the summer.
Yeah, maybe those 3 months, that February, March, and April might be the ticket. But, we can decide, we don't have to decide now, but keep that maybe in the back of our cuckoos and come around and discuss it maybe at the January meeting.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, could you, Ken, confirm the availability of the Wakefield room, for in-person meetings?
Yes, I'll do that this week and let everybody know.
Hey, Ken, the other thing is, do we want to, all the people that Zoom in and you have emails, would you put a blast out there with a quick survey of those people,
Good idea.
to see what their thoughts are? Because if all of a sudden we have 35 or 40 people respond saying, I prefer you have Zoom, then I think we owe it to them to do Zoom. But
Well, I think the other thing I want to talk through, and we did this when we were thinking about going live before, is what level of Zoom interaction can we offer them in a live meeting? And what we can certainly do is make it available for people to watch. Much as they do now, the trick would be, obviously, we'd be doing with a wide angle camera, so you wouldn't get to see everybody's face up close when they're speaking, which may or may not be a good thing. we would probably not be able to offer the interactivity in terms of having people being able to speak at the meetings via Zoom, only because then we have to get into the ability of projecting them onto a screen and getting them into a sound system so they could be heard. So when I'm talking to Cindy about the Wakefield room, I'll also have a chat about AV options to see if what I can bring out will be sufficient or if we would need to do something more and how much involvement we can have. I would very much like to be able to offer this to people to watch and to be able to submit questions as they do now. But we probably couldn't do something like having, well, it won't be Mike Zwicky anymore, but Sergeant Zeltman or Chief Powell or somebody speaking in might be a little more difficult for them to participate via Zoom versus having to show up in person.
Yeah, I think that that is another consideration. We do have a regular lineup of speakers who it's much easier for them to participate via Zoom, than to come to a physical location, and await their turn to present to us.
Yeah, we may want to, I'll reach out to some of our regular contributors and see if this is going to impact their ability to participate, and also
Right.
share that with you all. It's also probably good that we're waiting until after January. We have a couple of things scheduled in January that may be easier to do over Zoom. Somebody from CHR on Sanibel wants to present. And that may be more effective if she can do it on Zoom. So I'll send out some questions and let you know what happens.
Hey, Ken.
Okay, and you're also, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'll be curious to see what you find out when you talk to Cindy at Twin Waters, because I talk to my New York office all the time, and they're all together in a room, and I'm on Zoom, and it's perfectly fine. I mean, I can participate, I can hear them, I can see them. So
yeah, the biggest, we can do that, and particularly in a conference room, would be much easier. And doing something like Wakefield, we're going to need to be able to amplify the speaker on Zoom, because having it come out of a laptop is not going to be sufficient. Now, whether I've got speakers that would do that or whether I'd need to tap into the room sound system is really going to be the question.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I've been involved with hybrid meetings, and if you can get the right setup, it can be very effective. If you are just sitting at a static camera, though, you don't get much of a participation in that meeting. Everybody who's there in the room gets to talk to each other, and you get to hear it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I leave it in your very capable hands. Thank you.
And we've had a couple comments from the audience that they'd like to continue Zoom. So I think there is an audience for that. And obviously, as I said, we've been getting 30 or plus people to attend the meetings beyond the panel. So I'll let you know what they say.
Okay, Ken, thank you.
Actually, we had hundreds of people on the Zoom calls in this year. Yes.
And then the second part of this one is the panel budget. So let's share the screen again. As you can see, the year-to-date is pretty straightforward. We've received some contributions in the last month or so, which have been very generous and very helpful, and they've been thanked. And as Ann said, we'll be doing the fundraising letter shortly. So probably the checks will start coming in after the first of the year. And then the expenses are pretty much routine. There's not much new. The only thing that's high was the insurance, because we bought additional D&O coverage. In terms of what I've put together for 24 without any input from the panel, so this is your opportunity to share if you have something that you want to fund. Just, the cruise, donations. I'm not expecting any other grants from right now, and then expenses being pretty much as they are today for the monthlies. That being the case, we're looking at a slight deficit for the year, which we have the reserves to cover. And we have, in terms of cash on hand, over $200,000. A lot now. Much of that is still committed, so about half of that is earmarked, but that's still healthy. So, does anybody have?
Can I ask a question? Um, the other revenue from 2023 proposed, the 25,000, is that the iguana?
Yes, and that
Reimbursement?
I need to follow up with Wayne's office again and find out if we're going to see that.
Okay, so we're not anticipating that for 2024.
Not right now. I will see what they have to say when I reach out to Pamela and find out if they are going to be able to fund it, and if so, when.
Okay, so if they're not, then you're putting it into the expenses, our expenses?
Well, it's always going to be there because we're spending money. It's a question of
Right.
whether we get any revenue to offset it.
Okay.
And I'm assuming for 24 that Alfredo may not come out twice a week the entire year, because I'm guessing that as it cools off, there'll be either the iguanas will be dropping out of the trees on their own, or it'll just be less productive for them. Excuse me, I'm going to mute myself a minute. I have to cough. Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, anything further on the budget, Ken?
No, if you have any other expenditures you want to include, we did not put any money in for what was that? Other committees as we had last year, or ongoing projects. I don't know if you want to put something in for that again, David, since I think that was something you raised.
Yeah, I don't know what next year's gonna bring, and so I'm hopeful that we'll have the flexibility by doing the fundraising that we're doing on the cruise and in the letter that's going out. But I suspect that we're gonna have increased funding needs as we go forward. And we also may want to make a contribution to the fund or some of the other funds that will be requiring funding, whether that be advocacy or marketing or whatever, as this thing continues. So I think we're in good stead, but we could always amend our budget going forward, right, Ken?
Oh, absolutely. This is not cast in stone.
Ken,
Go ahead.
sorry. So in 2023, we put 20,000 in for fundraising events, which I'm assuming is things like the cruise, which we
Right.
didn't do last year. Okay, so but in 2024, you only have 8,000. So why?
Well, that's because I don't know what the response is going to be. The 20,000 was what we were going to bring in revenue had the cruise occurred. I'm hedging my bets in case we don't get a good response, but I can certainly raise that. If we get 80 people at $100, that's 8,000.
Well, doesn't the boat hold 100 people?
And we're going to have some people that won't be paying.
And then we're gonna have some people who are gonna pay more,
We hope.
right, Jay?
Yes.
So I mean, if we can bump that up, certainly. I just was being
I have a bit of a knee jerk against approving a budget that shows a deficit. And that's just, I don't know. I mean, I understand we're going to take the money from the cash available for use, but I think we could increase the fundraising events.
okay.
But that's
you
just me.
committing to that?
That's just me. What?
Are you committing to that? More fun that
Yeah, I think if we didn't raise it on the cruise, we'd find another place to raise it. But again, this is just me. Don't do it because of me, but it's just my thoughts.
And I think on this,
I agree with Ann. I think that we definitely have to have fundraising events where we raise more than $8,000. And so if we don't do it on the cruise, we have to do it somewhere else. So I think it's fair, Ken, to put a bigger number in there, and it's a number that we should try to meet.
I also think on our budget, if you look at what the big outgoes are, we've got $30,000 for, if I get this right, 30 for admin and 36 for iguanas, and basically everything else is zero. It seems like we should be putting some money in the budget for our programs, or, for things that we do, such as one of these, you had $10,000 last time for ongoing projects and initiatives. You had 30,000. we probably should have a budget item for that.
But
Because,
Linda, at this point, I don't know what those would be. I mean, we have a lot of things going on, but at this point, they are not things that require, additional funding.
right, I don't know what they would be either, but it
No.
seems odd for us not to have any.
Well, I view a budget as as a planning document of what your best guess assumptions are at a given point in time, and recognize that as conditions change, you change the budget. So, I don't think we should. I think it's a good idea to increase the development budget to zero out the the net income, as Ann suggested, but I don't know. I don't think just arbitrarily pick a number, without any rationale, for other projects when we don't
Jay,
have.
I agree. I agree with your statement. I concur with Ann. Move that number at least to 10,000.
Well, you would have to increase it, by 9,000, you'd have to go from.
Go from 8 to 10.
Well, no,
I think we should put it to 20, because
Yeah.
we don't know what the fundraising is going to be. This number is always kind of funny because the number goes in, but the fundraising, the money comes in at the very end of the year, early next. So, we're straddling both years, but I think we could meet the 20,000.
Yeah, and then that would give us a slight positive net income, I
Yeah,
think.
starting off optimistic.
Right.
Okay, I'll make that change.
All right.
And then Linda's going to come in and.
Yes, I was gonna do that. I'm gonna come in and increase the deficit now by insisting to Jay that we probably over the next year will have a community meeting regarding sewer, even if it's just to update people based on what we'll learn from Sanibel over the next year. And we will also have a community meeting if we go forward on the stormwater project, so we get input from the community as is required actually in the proposal as we move forward with the stormwater project in the village. So I can imagine that there would be 2 public meetings, at least, that we would be holding on those 2 issues over the course of the next in 2024. So you could, if we wanted to, put in some money for the ongoing projects initiatives, because I do think we would have community meetings. Whether that costs anything to do, I just don't know.
I think that's pretty nominal, David.
All right, that's fine.
I mean, I think we could put community meetings, $2,000, maybe something like that. And we'd still have a zeroed out budget line.
That's fair. I agree. That's good.
All right, community meetings, 2,000.
Okay, and I can also make changes and bring it back to you next month for you to
Yes.
say yes to.
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, before we move on to additional panel member comments and questions, there's one other item that didn't make it onto the agenda. That is Verizon. All 5 cell towers, have been installed. There is an unfortunate miscommunication that occurred on one of the cell tower locations that we're David and I are trying to work out, with Verizon and the property owner, but all 5 towers are up now. Verizon tells me that they expect we will have everything up and running by the end of the first quarter.
Yahoo.
So that has been a very long, arduous project. I don't know how long it's taken, to get this thing through, but given that we started out with what I think what motivated all this is when there was an incident when some people couldn't complete 911 calls to the fire department, and the fire department was advising the panel that they had no reliable service, cell service on Captiva. We had to do something, about this. And so I think we're getting close to the finish line here now. Okay, are there any other panel members, comments, questions, anything from the audience that has not been addressed?
I just want to say that I know that we elect the officers at the January meeting.
Yes, we do.
But I just want to say, Jay, thank you very much for a year of wonderful chairpersonship.
Thank
you do a great job. And I know we thank David. You always thank David, which is very much deserved. But also thanks to you, because you really do a wonderful job, I think, chairing the meetings, and you're very reliable, always very professional and personal, and it's really just done a fabulous job. So thank you.
Well, I can always use an ego stroke. Thank you so much.
Anytime you need one, happy to do it.
I know where to go.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Well, if there's nothing else to come before the panel, I think we have concluded our meeting. Do we need a motion to
Jay,
end the
gotta
meeting?
ask if there's any public comment, but also I think, Ken, you might want to read those last public comments we got, because I think they'll make us feel good.
Sure. The last ones that came in, love watching the meetings, could use an owl for Zoom. We love the Zoom meetings and watch from Indiana. Thanks. And you have gotten so much publicity and participation, which has made so many like us recognize all you do, which shows people will give if asked. So thank you all for the kind words.
What does
That's very
owl
nice.
mean? What's an owl?
I don't know. I'm going to have to look that up. I have a feeling it's probably a piece of technology I haven't had a chance to play with yet.
Okay.
Okay, a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion, and happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas.
Okay,
thank
everybody,
you.
thank you. We'll see you at the new year. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.